So I have Smurfs: The Lost Village, which was so confusing to me because the last Smurf movies in my mind were the weird live action ones with Neil Patrick Harris.
What?
So I thought this was like, yeah, it's like he's real in New York or something like that, and then like these really creepy Smurfs. Like, if you go back and look, I had to look at the trailer for the other Smurfs. I think it came out in 2014. They are terrifying looking.
Like the Elf in the Shelf?
Much creepier than the Elf in the Shelf. Like, the character design is horrible. So I thought, I was like, that was the last one in my mind, and this is not that. This is like a completely, quote, new animated movie, and it's not new at all because it's the same freaking story over and over and over. Sure. And they keep recycling this property. And again, I was so confused because I was like, what was Smurfs 2? What is this? So let's just say it's a new film. And at least they're cuter this time. They look like the original, like, Peyo drawing. So I was like, okay, at least they're not going to give children nightmares. That's the nicest thing I have to say about this film because I was so confused watching it. It's all about Smurfette, and it's like they ostracized the one female Smurf, right? I was like, this is not about empowerment. This is literally them, like, ostracizing her for being a female Smurf. And then they find a village of more female Smurfs.
Good, thank God.
Right.
It was weird that there was only one throughout my whole childhood.
So that is a question I have also had growing up, right? I was like, how do Smurfs reproduce, right? Like, are they just like immortal? Do they live forever?
Like
why is there only one? And apparently I was not a fan of the Smurf, so I didn't know this Smurfette is like not a real Smurf. She's a creation of Gargamel.
Yes.
What? Anyway, so the regular Smurfs remind her constantly that she's not a real Smurf. The new lady Smurfs constantly ostracize her because she's not a real Smurf and she's like an evil creation. So I was like, where is the moral to this? Where is the story? What are we teaching our children from watching this movie? And I don't think kids will like it. I thought Trolls did a better job last year, even though that had its problems, but at least it was like positive and happy. And this was just like, the thing that confuses me the most about the Smurfs and why people like it is like they just refine people down to like their one characteristic, right? Like I get it. I'd probably be Mohawk Smurf or something like that. But that's so antiquated to me. And the fact that the only female Smurf is just her defining quality is she's the female Smurf. Mm-hmm. Like, what happens now that they found all these other lady Smurfs? Does she just become like blonde Smurf? What? There's no logic to this franchise. I thought Trolls did a better job. I felt no nostalgia for the Smurfs. I don't know if anybody else does either. Nobody's asking for these movies. Stop confusing your own franchise with these things. Again, I just think it's not teaching a good lesson to anybody. And I've said before that I have a tough time being hard on animated films, but this one I have no problem with. I'm going to give it 1.3.
1.3 sounds like a rave. No, I'm kidding.
Would have been a lot better if they had Mohawk Smurf, if you ask me. I love that idea.
Yeah, you know what? They should do some really cool, different ones.
That's the thing. But that's the thing, right? The whole core of the Smurfs is you're Grumpy Smurf or you're Papa Smurf or you're whoever. So you wouldn't be the Smurfs at that point. You're the Trolls.
Does it get better?
Barely. I have Power Rangers. Here is a property that I actually loved. Like, I'll fully admit. Yes, I loved the original Power Rangers. This is sad to say, but it like inspired me to get into martial arts and like get a black belt eventually. So I was like, I owe the Power Rangers that. Like, I owe them a sense of discipline. So I got when they like announced that they were doing this, I was super apprehensive and was like, okay, but I get it. Like, I'm your audience now. I have, people with like disposable income to a degree and are willing to sit through this. And just like, it was so cheesy. The original was so cheesy. That's not in question. But if you're a little kid watching it, you're like, yeah, people in suits fighting other people in suits. Unfortunately, this is not that. It's like it's actually a perfect example of another show or movie, because we're seeing a lot of these days that like defined a character by one aspect. And it was like a little more subtle about it, but not so. So the Pink Ranger was a girl. The Yellow Ranger was Asian. The Black Ranger was black. Like, let's just be honest.
The red one was a Native American.
Right. I was like, the show a little bit racist. So this new remake at least mixes it up, right? So I was like, all right, at least you fixed that part of it. Yeah. So, the colors are changed. The pink one's still a girl. I'm like, come on, people. Like, let's. I literally got a text from my mother that said, is the yellow one still yellow? And I was like, Mom, that is not an enlightened way to think about this. Yeah. But that's how people think about it. I do also have to say, I think it has technically the first like queer or questioning big screen superhero. So like, kudos to that. I wish they'd been more forthright with it instead of it's again, it's one of those like micro moments. Like we talked about Beauty and the Beast had this like whole hullabaloo about it. And again, it was like a 3-second clip. This is also like one line of dialogue. And I was like, could we just embrace this? Could we just have like, it's fine to have an out character. This film took itself way too seriously. Like the reason I think I love the first one is like, again, you're a little kid, you're watching this ridiculous stuff. It's cheesy, it's fun, it's like not trying to be anything more than it is. This one was trying to be this like dark, broody, serious teen drama. And I don't know if anyone's watching 13 Reasons on Netflix, and it's like a teen.
Yeah, 13 Reasons Why.
Yeah, 13 Reasons Why. And it's just this like, it's similar where I'm like, oh, I guess like teens are really dark now. Yeah, teenagers have always been dark and broody, but like I guess we're going like real serious with this. So I feel like we're gonna see this vein of these types of films and movies. I feel too old for this. I don't connect to this in this way. Teen drama is already over melodramatic, and this is taking it way too far. And like the action was not good. There was no action in this movie for what's supposed to be an action movie. Like they don't even get the suits until like 3/4 of the way through. They don't get in the Zords. They don't none of the fun stuff that was great about the original. And again, the original was only a half hour. This is almost 2 hours of I didn't need to watch 90 minutes of this. Like my favorite parts of it, unfortunately, were the parts that were callbacks to the original, and it wasn't worth sitting through the rest. I don't know how they got Bryan Cranston to be in this movie.
What?
Bill Hader's a voice.
What?
Yeah, Bryan Cranston is Zordon, who's the big glowing head.
It's a paycheck.
It's a paycheck. Yep, absolutely. It's a paycheck. And I have to say the best part was Elizabeth Banks, who's the villain. She's Rita Repulsa. And she clearly showed up and was like, I don't care about this, and just went for it. She chewed the scenery, and it was fun. You know, she had fun. You could tell like she was having fun with it. And I was like, that's what this franchise needs, not dark, broody teenager. So I was excited and afraid, and clearly afraid was the way to go because, again, it wasn't anything. I don't even know what I was expecting for it. I didn't have high expectations, but I'm just going to have to mentally separate them out forever. Just be like, nope, I like the Power Rangers show. I don't know what they're doing now. So I'm only going to give this one 1.5.
Great.